Hello everyone, and thank you for watching this video. I am currently recording this using my webcam and my phone for the actual unboxing part. I don't usually do unboxing videos, so I don't have a professional setup, so I apologize in advance if some things don't look super pretty. Who am I? I am a role-playing game designer, graphic designer, and occasionally translator living in Italy. I am Italian. But today, the topic of the video is this game, Jiangshi Blood in the Banquet Hall by Banana-chan and Sen-Foong Lim. I apologize in advance if my pronunciation in this video isn't always perfect. Italian is my native language. English has kind of become my second language, but I still struggle with other pronunciations. The reason why I wanted to make this video, well, there are many. I've been hyped about this game for a long time, and I'm going to talk about it from a game design and graphic design perspective, mainly. I got it today in my mail, which means I haven't been able to look inside it. So this is an unboxing for me and for you. I was aware of this game and I was hyped about it ever since first hearing about it in 2018. At the time, my first contact with it was within the Asians Represent community, the Discord community specifically. For those of you who don't know, Asians Represent is a, well, at the moment they are a content creator, a group of people who create contents on Twitch, YouTube, and some of them also work with Wizards of the Coast and similar realities. Their first content and the occasion in which I discovered them was a long series of videos about Oriental adventures and similar products from the early days of D&D. They also followed with a series on Legend of the Five Rings 5th edition, but their perspective and focus is mostly one of sensitivity reading, if you will, specifically about the Orientalist tendency in Western RPGs. And they are very interesting videos, so I suggest you check them out. Whatever I talk about in this video, I'm going to add some links with the video itself, so you can go look for yourself. But Jiangshi was a game that was being discussed at the time in the community, and it almost immediately grabbed my attention for a variety of reasons. First of them, it was a mix between a role-playing game and a board game. And I don't just mean the presentation of being a box. For instance, on the back, it says it's for 4 to 5 players, it's for ages 15 plus, and 3 to 4 hours per session. Obviously, this can be a big help for people when they purchase it, because it tells them what's going to be the expected, the duration of the game. It's going to tell them what the experience is going to amount to, whilst most of the time role-playing games that only come in the form of books aren't super clear. You might watch, some live stream and see that they go on and on and on and on for months. Other live streams are going to be one evening, so you're left, kind of puzzled. This kind of presentation makes it super clear what the game is about and how long it will take to play. So that's a great thing when it comes to accessibility. For those of you who know me, well, you know that I am a big fan of hybridization, especially when it comes to combining role-playing game elements and board game elements. I believe that role-playing games too easily become stale when it comes to their design. Uh, the community isn't exactly welcoming when it comes to change and experimentation. And so, the first reason why I wanted to support this project, and I think it deserves praise, is the courage to create something different. Um, I think this is the way we keep a design fresh. You don't always have to create something different, but you should uh, experiment and create new things and try new approaches. Specifically, in this case, it's not just the box, uh, the presentation that is board game like, but also inside the components are a key part of the game experience. They are not just an addition like miniatures would be for a Dungeons and Dragons game, but they are, the core of the experience. They are the tools that you use to play the game. Um, and while some people might think, oh, that's a fancy way to defend selling people pricey boxes, I think that the care that went into this specific box is excellent. So, reason one, bravery and experimentation. And reason 1.5, I personally love this kind of board game, role playing game hybridization and think there needs to be much more of it. Um, Reason 2 why I appreciate the game and was interested in it is that it's a game about running a family restaurant and facing a supernatural threat during the night. So it has this kind of, day and night dynamic, this satisfying gameplay loop that is also very clear. Once again, it provides structure to the game, it keeps you on the same page. I also love food. Unironically, I really, really, really love food. I think it's one of the core parts of human interaction, eating things prepared by other people. And the transformation of ingredients is always something that has fascinated me. And when you combine this with the Jiangshi, which is a folklore creature, I want to say it's China. I don't know specifically the region in which it originated. It's sometimes described as a Chinese vampire, but that's not quite correct. It's a very fascinating creature and one that I always liked. So you see once again how all these elements combine to make me very interested. Um, Now, our conversation is going to get a bit deep now, because another important reason why I wanted to support this project is the perspective. The core experience talks about being a family of Chinese immigrants in Chinatown in the 1920s, running a restaurant business and facing a supernatural threat during the night. I don't think I have to. I actually don't want to elaborate too long on the implications of being an immigrant in 1920s United States. I am Italian, live in Italy, and enjoy a lot of privileges because of this. I am not a minority here, but Italy has a history of emigration to the United States. So some of the topics that this game can bring to the table are absolutely something that is discussed, although not enough, I have to say, in Italy. Um, so what's the point? The point is, while you can run the game in a more lighthearted or more serious way, it's undeniable that the period that this game is set in brings important topics to the table. Uh, Also, I have to say, the team who worked on it, the people who also collaborated when it comes to designing new scenarios, all of them I know because I've been following them on Twitter. So even if I don't always, reply, retweet, I've seen the conversations, and I know that there was a lot of effort on this game. And what's even more interesting is that the premise that I talked about, like the scenarios, aren't all set in that time period. I think it's a testament to how good the idea, the basic design idea of this game is that you can take it and apply it to situations that are much more modern, because the reality of immigrant families running this kind of business and experiencing a series of difficulties when it comes to society and the structure of society, and of course the issues that come with racist structures of society, they are very much modern. So you can use this basic premise to talk about a lot of different things. And even just going from the everyday oppressive situations and dynamics of being an immigrant in a country that is not ready and is not willing to treat you as, a person on the same level as the people that live in that country. When you pair it with the oppressive supernatural threat that you have to deal with during the night, I think this game can easily bring very complicated and important topics with it. And I also know that the people that made it were much aware of it and did a lot of work when it comes to safety, when it comes to how you present that kind of situations. The final reason why I admire the team and want to support this game and why I made this video is that this game was created and produced mostly during a pandemic. Now, being a game designer and working with a publisher to produce my own game in this period, I can tell you that it's tough. Sometimes it's downright nightmarish. But specifically in this pandemic, during which a number of stereotypes, of sources of misinformation have spread disgusting opinions about people from Asia, in which they have been used as scapegoats, in which there has been violence, both verbal and physical. I cannot begin to imagine the amount of toughness and effort that went into working on a game that at its core speaks exactly about that kind of stuff. That while it has an enjoyable gameplay experience and is a fun game, also brings that kind of topic to the table. So I guess what I'm kind of trying to say is, even just because of that, this game deserves respect and admiration. And then we come to the actual game. So I'm going to drop that specific topic, but please bear in mind the amount of effort that these people made to work on this, to bring this to the people that backed it on Kickstarter. And I'm going to basically take on the hat of the game designer, graphic designer, and speak about the content. First of all, I don't think I have to say that the cover is beautiful, that the art is gorgeous, but I'm going to say it. I also love how the graphic design on it is not intrusive. It really strengthens the impact of the illustration. There's also great use of greens and blues in contrast with the red and oranges. There's also these gold bits, I think you can say it, yes, that make the cover look even more beautiful. And I really, really like the graphic design on the title. It's elegant. I like the bit where the N goes between the and banquet. And while it uses quite a variety of fonts, this isn't too heavy on the eyes. So kudos to that. When it comes to the back is also cool. You can see immediately the Jiangshi that I was speaking about before. Tells you a bit about the premise and tells you the contents. You can see there's a fair bit of components, and this is what I meant when I said that this game uses those components not as additions to the gameplay experience, but as a core part of the resolution. Let's see what's inside. Hopefully I'm not being too noisy when I open it. So we have an insert with the cover illustration, which is always welcome because I might decide to frame it, for instance. We have another illustration that, while quite different in style, is still about the same, the same premise. And this is what I meant when I said that you can tweak the tone and aesthetic of basically the imaginary space in which you envision these characters acting depending on the scenario, but it's still going to be about the same core premise. You can see this kind of approach is more, one could say, realistic, or at least the portrayal of these people is more tied to photographic realism, while here it's much more tied to a cartoon style. But in both cases, it's going to be the same game and it's going to have the same core premise, which is good because the premise might look like it's not too flexible, but instead it is quite a lot. And I'd say surprisingly so, because I've seen a lot of ideas online about the directions in which you can take it, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed. We also have character sheets, and you can see they are plastified, so you can use these to write on them. These markers are not permanent, and I know some people want to keep the character sheets like forever. I like this because it saves space, and also it really drives in the episodic nature of the game. The fact that it's a self-contained experience. You sit down with 4 people and play it, and then you play it with 4 different people, and those games are completely separate, completely self-contained, and they are satisfying experiences on their own. I also appreciate that you don't have to waste, well, let's not say waste, but use a bunch of paper to print different character sheets, because environment is a thing, and yet again it's a thing that in the recent years, when it comes to paper, has been a serious issue. So anything that saves paper, that's very much a positive in my book. So I know I said that I hadn't completely looked inside. I had pre-opened these, that's why some dice are out. These aren't just normal D8s. As you can see, they have Chinese characters on, I think it's the 8. Yes, correct. There's 2 varieties of them. There's red and I think I can say ember-like. And there's also a D4. And I like that the design kept into account the role of the number 8 and the number 4 in folklore. But I also like that they provide dice in quite an abundance. I know that some people aren't too keen with games that include custom dice. In this case, I think this is kind of the best of both worlds, because you can still use these dice as normal d8s, because the character is always on the 8. And at the same time, the 8s aren't exactly too common to purchase in bulk, not like 10-sided dice, for instance. So them including them and deciding to, once again, the fact that they decided to produce it like a board game allows them to go with a die that isn't, too easily obtained in bulk normally. Were this just a role-playing game book, the fact that it used so many d8s and only d8s would be a bit of an issue, because you might, have trouble finding that many. Instead, going the board game route allows you to use whatever dice you choose, including custom dice. The next bit we're looking at is this stack of spirit paper. I won't spoil the details of how this works, but you use them at the end of a scenario to seal away the Jiangshi or supernatural presence. They're very cool. The design idea behind it is very cool. If you want to know more about it, as I said before, I'm going to post links to actual plays of the game. Next bits are these blocks of cards. I won't open them because there might be spoilers. What I want to talk about is this. This is an X card. It's a safety tool that some of you might be familiar with. It's become increasingly more used, as well as other safety tools such as lines and veils in tabletop role-playing games. This is pretty important for two reasons. One, as I said, this game can bring sensitive topics, so having an X card ready if someone, feels like a scene is going into a direction that's too heavy for them, this is a great thing. But the other reason why this is important is that it's an actual card in the game. I know this might seem like a minor thing for some of you, but with all the resistance that safety tools and safety procedures in gaming often are met with, having an X card be part of the components of the game, so it plays an official role, it's an official component, gives it a legitimacy that I'm really, really happy about. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the X card specifically. I like safety tools that have a bit more nuance to them. But for a game that's focused around one-shots, I can absolutely appreciate the role this plays, because you're likely bringing it to conventions, playing with complete strangers, and having a button that can be pressed to tell the table, folks, no, stop, I don't want to talk about this anymore, let's skip to a different scene. And then, you can fast forward, you can rewind and remove the element that was causing that discomfort. But this is part of the game. This is the game, not the organizer, not the person bringing the game to the convention, but this is the actual components of the game telling you, we're not leaving you alone, we are going to take care of you. So this is very, very important. I really appreciate it. If you plan on designing tabletop role-playing games that use physical components like these, consider strongly consider creating a card or similar component for the safety tools included in your game. And of course, include safety tools in your game, or a discussion of them at least. Then we have these. This is used to. This is once again something I love. This is used to keep track of the various phases of the day and phases of gameplay. And there's two reasons why I love it. The first one is that this is great looking. The second is that it enforces the pacing and the gameplay loop part of the experience. I know this might seem minor, but if you think about who generally is tasked with keeping track of pacing and time in tabletop RPGs, that's usually the game master, who sometimes also has to decide how many activities a character can perform during a certain part of the day. It's the morning. Can I go talk to the mayor and also go shopping, or can I only do one of them? This kind of board game like premise allows you to delegate that kind of decision, that kind of economy, because we're talking about an economy of resources in play. If I can do two things and another person can do one in the same time, I'm using my resources more effectively, or you are for some reason giving me two resources. In this case, instead, you have the game that is keeping everything on track, that it's keeping the pacing. Doesn't matter what the scenario will be. If the game lasts 8 scenes, a tool like this one lets you make sure that the game will last 8 scenes. You don't have to enforce it using some kind of authority as the facilitator or the game master. It's the game, it's the actual rules that tell you this will last a certain amount of time, this will last a certain amount of scenes, you will be able to perform this number of activities within this given amount of time. And this is not only, it removes some of the heft of the game master role, but it also basically lets them be something more than just responsible for the quality of the experience. They can put that to rest, and there is the game itself that is enforcing that kind of pacing, rhythm, and duration of the experience. This might seem like minor things, but as I said at the start, I was going to talk about this from a game designer perspective, and all of this stuff is important. Making the game master or facilitator's role non-existent, or at least as enjoyable and easy to manage as possible, is a major design goal when I design my games. The experience needs to be fun all around, and it needs to be as equal, if not symmetrical, because you can have an asymmetrical experience, but it needs to be equally distributed in terms of weight of responsibilities. Finally, we have a defeating Jiangshi 101. So this is your quick tutorial. I guess it's a reminder card for the rules that govern Jiangshi in folklore. For instance, it will retreat at the sound of a rooster's call. This is especially funny because my last name, Galletto, actually literally means rooster in English, well, in Italian. So I guess I will be able to cause a Jiangshi to retreat. It also says that uncooked rice stops it in its tracks. They are afraid of their own reflection. So this is very useful because basically it lets you oh, it says do not read private, so maybe this is big spoilers. Okay. uh, Oops. In my defense, it was on the back. So yeah, this is a quick way to, you know, make information about the Jiangshi available to the entire table. And finally, last but definitely not least, we have the book. Now let's see if I can take it out without doing damage. Sorry, 2 books. My apologies. Specifically, the first, I guess, is the rule book, and the second is the scenario book. And then we have paper and some more paper. So I'm going to actually move this away. And let's take a look at the booklets. I'm not going to do an in-depth read or anything, because this video is already super long, I think. So there's a fair bit of content, and the design is reminiscent of a menu. You can see there's even a price for the various sections. This is quite cool. I've seen something similar in the materials, in the components of Food Chain Magnati, and I found it quite cool because the basically the reminder card for that game was an entire menu, just like a fast food restaurant menu. So I always appreciate when the layout choices bring you into the narrative premise. And yes, so I was correct. This is an X card. Apparently, it also has a black side, so maybe you can flip it between white and black. And oh, this is interesting. The book about defeating the Jiangshi goes to the eldest character unless otherwise noted. You can see these are all bits of design that are super effective in communicating the premise. The layout in the rulebook is okay. I see there's a lot of historical details and information, which I absolutely adore. It will be particularly interesting because, as I said at the start of the video, I'm an Italian and I have never been to the United States, so there's a lot of words that I'm still learning have problematic implications or a tragic history behind them. So this will be interesting, and it will also be useful for my own job, because when I design games, I need to pay attention to the words that I use. There's also a lot of information on various dishes. Okay, this looks pretty full with information. Wow. Okay. Just let me see. Safety, player basics. Okay, game moderating basics. That's also very interesting. The GM, if I'm not wrong, is called game moderator here. Although there was also game manager jumping around as a possibility, which I liked. Advancing the story, ending the game. Okay. I have to admit, this is a fair bit more pages dedicated to rules than I expected. Now, this isn't much of a problem for me specifically, because I like reading rules. Um, if I have one criticism, it's that the text is a bit too close here to the center of the spread, so I have to open it, keep it open to read everything well. On the other hand, the book is not particularly thick and it stays open quite easily. So this is good. Okay, it's a gold D8, so the amber colored 8-sided die is a golden die. Okay, and lastly, I'm going to take a look at the scenarios, mainly to see a list of them. We have various scenarios by Banana-chan and Sen-Foong Lim. We have one by Christine Devine, one by Sharang Biswas. Again, I apologize if I mispronounce the name. Yoshi Krielman, Morgan Nuncio, Vladimir Bratovic, Nurdin Ali Kadir. It's fun because many of these names I recognize from the conversation that we had on Discord and are people I follow on Twitter. So it's one thing to read the takes on Twitter and another thing to actually read a scenario designed by the person. So I am very, 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 very hyped by this whole thing. Like, I'll try to bring it to a convention here in Italy. Okay, there's also specifications about tone, content warnings, settings, rules additions and changes. This is not unlike a scenario book for board games such as Descent, for instance. It has specific rules, it has new skills. This is very cool. I think there's also a map of the station here. So what I'm liking here is that there seem to be very different takes on the game. So they made effort to showcase that you can bring it into very different directions, very different experiences, while maintaining the core experience. And yeah, I guess at this point, okay, this is also very cool. List of contributors directly on the back. Very much appreciated. There's this tendency in role-playing games to not put people's name on the cover or on the back cover, while board games, basically you see the name of the designer and oftentimes you also see the name of the main artist, especially if it was one artist doing basically all the artwork in the game. You see them on the cover, like you see them as selling point, and role-playing games don't do this nearly enough. So this is very cool. I like seeing this list because it's a recognition of the effort that people made to create this. So there's also pronouns listed for every character. Once again, you can see the issue that I was talking about. I would probably have preferred maybe 1 point smaller text, but with more spacing on the sides. This is not a deal breaker, just to make it clear. But yeah, right now it does look a bit overwhelming. But I guess I'll be able to tell you more about how tough the reading was after I actually read it. So this is very much just a first look at it. I could tell you stuff like it would be better if it had more artwork, but as I said before, I'm beginning to understand a thing or two about production costs, and this has the production costs of a board game on top of those of a role-playing game. Um, yeah, I definitely appreciate them concentrating the effort on the components, um, because, and this is once again another personal designer opinion of mine. Um, the character sheets and the components that you bring at the table when you play, those are the ones that should have the inspiring artwork, the cool graphic design. The book should be readable, but I don't like it when the cool artwork is in the book, because the book is not going to be open at the table, when the real experience takes place. On the other hand, designing role playing games that are board game hybrids use components allows you to bring a lot more cool stuff, cool looking stuff, inspiring stuff to the table. Um, I guess my first encounter with something like this was the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 3rd edition box from Fantasy Flight, and it was cool because the components, the various action cards, had illustrations. Like they threw you into the setting, into the game. While on the other hand, if everything is just stuck into the book and only the game master reads it, uh, you are creating this situation in which there's the players, there's the game master, and there's the book or the game, and the players never actually interact with the game. They only interact with the vision that the game master has of that game. This, on the other hand, it's not like that. You have the components that they exchange hands on the table. Anyone can look at them, and they also, and this is just from a convention perspective, having this kind of setup on the table will draw the interest of people. Um, of course, if you bring this to a convention with strangers, you will have to be extra careful about safety tools and the kind of topics that can enter the game. You also honestly have to be careful of the same things if you play with people that you've known for a long time, but for instance, in my case, you live in a country that has very serious issues dealing with racism, that still hasn't realized exactly the kind of harm that has been done in history. Italy isn't exactly good at acknowledging mistakes. This is a story for another time, and I don't want to make this video even longer than it is. But I think we are lucky to have this game. It's a great thing that it was made, and I think it can act as an inspiration for really any game designer that wants to blend board game elements and role-playing game elements, and that wants to blend serious, deep topics with an engaging gameplay experience. So I guess congratulations to all the people that worked on this. I am super hyped, and I can't wait to see what you come up with next. But first, take some well-deserved rest, because you earned it. Like you earned it twice or 3 times with this one. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video interesting. If not, or if you have any criticism or stuff you want to point out, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, either on Twitter. I am at RoosterEma. I can also be found on Discord, but Twitter is probably the easiest way to reach me. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.